All right, so UFC 300 just went down. Top 3 UFC cards ever? I think we have to say yes at this point. What just happened? I'm still processing it. The breakdown, let's go. All right, so this entire card I thought was loaded from the rip. I know a lot of people didn't necessarily like what it looked like on paper because of the main event or because Bo Nickel was on the main card, which we'll get to later. That was an issue for a lot of people. But this card was stacked top to bottom, and it showed once again that when the UFC understands an important card is in front of them, they deliver. I'm talking Domino's, I'm talking Amazon Prime. I mean, they put it on your front doorstep and say, enjoy. We have cooked, and we'd like you now to taste test this. We got banger after banger. First fight on the night, Deiveson Figueiredo submits Cody Garbrandt. Unfortunately for Cody, Figueiredo, nasty work, is probably going to move up in bantamweight and cause some problems there. Again, he's 36. We'll see how that goes. But an awesome performance. Bobby Green with a surgical performance versus Jim Miller, just straight punches down the middle, back and forth fight for the first round. Second and third, Bobby Green took over, sliced Jim up. Unfortunately for Jim Miller, it wasn't his night, and Bobby gets it done. Once again, just the 2 fights to start the card. Already fight of the night contenders, that 300K bonus out there on the horizon. I actually don't know who's won it at the time of recording this, but those 2 were awesome. But just a taste of what was to come. Jessica Andrade wins the decision versus Marina Rodriguez. A lot of people thought controversial. I didn't think so. I was fine with a split decision there. 2-1 to Jessica Andrade. Fun fight. Back and forth fight, but I thought she did more damage, got the win. Renato Moicano and Jalen Turner. This was a lesson in what not to do when you get your opponent hurt. I'm not saying that to call out Jalen Turner. I think he got caught in the moment, and what I mean is the first round, Jalen Turner lands on Renato Moicano to start the fight and hurt him. Literally the first punch he threw, hurt him with. And then later in the round, put him down with a straight left hand and tried to do the walk-off KO like, hey, I just won the fight. Here's my 300 G's, baby. Turns out, referee didn't stop it. Renato Moicano back to his feet, and the fight keeps going. Next round, Renato Moicano turns the tide, and again, using the grappling to set up the striking. Back to the grappling. Jalen Turner had 0, and I mean settle, grappling defense. Got laid flat down on the ground. Ayo, no diddy. And Renato Moicano got the win. Stoppage in round number 2. Fantastic win for him. Almost as good as his post-fight speech, where he essentially said he couldn't afford to lose. He could not lose. He couldn't be denied. He wants to continue to make waves in the division. Great on the mic. Fantastic story. Talked about the 300K. We'll see if he gets it. Again, I have no idea at the time of this recording. But again, 3 fights that were bangers off rip, and that was the early prelims, guys. There's so much more. Then you had Diego Lopez coming out and just starching Sadiq Youssef. I mean, Diego Lopez has put himself on the map in his last 3 fights. Now, obviously, the Mobsar fight is a little tough, right? Lose the decision there. But submission in the first round, Gavin Tucker. KO in the first round, Pat Sabatini. KO in the first round, Sadiq Youssef. He's a fun fighter. He's a crowd favorite. And he's explosive, high energy. Uppercuts did the job tonight. The clinch, uppercut behind it. Again, starched Sadiq Youssef. I did not see that one coming. I got this fight wrong, along with a lot of the fights we're going to talk about, so bear with me. It was a bad night for me and my picks. Next up, Kayla Harrison. The fight with Holly Holm was pretty much a foregone conclusion to a lot of people, but fight started off a little spicy. A little bit of competition for Kayla to try to go through, as you had Holly, who was essentially counted out by a lot of people, turning the tide on Kayla early in the grappling exchanges, something you didn't think Holly should get into and proved to be something she shouldn't have got into later in the fight, but actually reversed Kayla, got on top, started to try to work some offensive grappling, but in the end, Kayla Harrison just too much with her sweeps, with her judo throws, with her takedown, and eventually gets a submission. It was very quick. She transitioned to the back, flattened Holly out, and it felt like 2 seconds later, the choke was in and it was over. So fantastic win for Kayla Harrison, and she calls out whoever's champ at 135. Oddly enough, Leo, you can put this on screen. Amanda Nunes was sitting there on her own Twitter, laying in wait, essentially saying, I'm ready when you are for that return fight. Yes, Amanda Nunes, Kayla Harrison, I like that, but maybe after Kayla gets the belt, I don't know. I want to see that matchup just because they're former teammates. There was always rumors. I want to see it, but I don't know if it happens now. Then you had Aljamain Sterling, Calvin Kattar. This was probably the least entertaining fight of the night. It was a great game plan for Aljamain Sterling. He was utilizing what he does best, getting to offensive grappling positions, trying to work his way into that backpack position and threaten chokes and other things. And it was pretty much that. Just grappling dominance for 3 rounds, and he gets the decision over Calvin. Obviously, you know, as a fan watching that one, it's not the one that's going to make your eyeballs pop out of your head, but a good win for Aljo in his debut at featherweight. Calvin, obviously, coming off 2 losses. One, he was hurt in the one before, but coming off the loss to Aljo, got to rethink and reframe where he wants to go at 45. Either way, fun fight, I guess, and Aljo gets the win. And then the main event of the prelim card, Yuri Prochazka and Alexander Rakic. I swore to myself this was going to be Alexander Rakic's coming out party. He was going to do bad things to Yuri Prochazka. And here's the thing. He did. In the first round of this fight, Alexander Rakic was landing heavy shots on Yuri Prochazka. I mean, first it started with the leg kicks. Then it was upstairs with the 1-2s. Then it was the 3-2. Then it was the 1-3-2s. Then the 1-2-3s. He was landing everything imaginable, and Yuri was just walking through it. This guy is made out of something else. I don't know if it's adamantium. I don't know if it's unobtainium. I don't know if it's vibranium. I don't know if he's the Winter Soldier, Wakanda's finest, the Silver Samurai. Whatever he is, this man is built different, and he is truly the last samurai in this bit. Walking through all the attacks of Alexander Rakic just to, once again, put pressure on him that was just inevitable, undeniable. He couldn't be stopped. His forward momentum just kept tracking, and eventually he hurt Alexander Rakic. There was a point, by the way, before that happened where Rakic threw a step-in elbow. I mean, close quarters, and it landed flush, and Yuri just grinned at him, almost smirked at him, like, cool, you landed that. I got some more. Walk forward, wobbled Rakic with a right hand, I think, or maybe it was a left hook. Got him down. Obviously, Rakic stumbling around like Bambi on ice, falls to the ground. Yuri finishes it there. My goodness. Again, spoiler alert for what happens in the main event. Alex Pereira is a monster. He wins, so you potentially could set up him and Yuri again, but I think it's more likely that they're going to put Yuri in there with Ankalaev to maybe determine the #1 contender. I don't know. But I don't know if you want to do Yuri versus Alex Pereira again right after Alex beat him. Regardless, fantastic performance from him. Again, another reason why this card was an absolute banger, because this could have been performance of the night. Then we got to our main card, and it started off with Bo Nickel and Cody Brundage. And this was Bo Nickel facing some adversity. In the first round, Brundage had some things to give Bo Nickel, right? He was stuffing some takedowns early. He was throwing some kind of flying crazy attacks, and then at one point tried to hit a switch, but eventually this was Bo Nickel doing what Bo Nickel does. Heavy grappling, good grappling, shutdown performance, didn't take any damage. Submission in round number 2, rear naked choke, and he was squeezing that thing. Nasty work, and again, great win for Bo Nickel. A lot of people upset he was on the main card. He even got some boos in the arena, and I think he even booed himself for his performance because he didn't feel like he did well enough, but I think he'll take a round 2 submission on the main card of one of the biggest cards in UFC history. Next fight, we had Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. And this one was crazy before the fight even started. Arman Tsarukyan punched a guy in the crowd during his walkout. I don't know what happened, but what I saw in the press conference after, his explanation was for it was because he's from Russia. He doesn't want to get arrested in America, so don't do that shit to him. That man's a gangster. No one, no fan should ever be reaching across the guardrail and trying to antagonize or instigate or even trying to fight, if you're crazy enough to do that, one of the UFC fighters. Don't do that shit, please. You're going to end up in a hospital. Yeah, I think he made another guy flinch, too, on the way down. He's like, bitch. Some crazy shit before he even got there. But the fight started, and again, Charles Oliveira started the fight well. Had a kick that he kicked out one of the legs of Tsarukyan, actually got on top of him, tried to lock up a guillotine. It looked tight. I'm talking tighter than a mason jar sealed up with jam from 15 years ago your grandma keeps in the cupboard tight. Maybe that's just my family. Grandma and grandpa have shit tons of stuff sealed up in mason jars from, I think, when I was a kid. That shit is aged. But Tsarukyan found his way out, popped his head out. That was a dangerous submission, but once he did get out of it, in the later part of that round, he started to have some ground and pound moments, some elbows from the top, cut Charles open. Second round was more of the same, but I think a little bit more dominant for Tsarukyan in that third round. Another, mainly grappling focused fight, and also in round number 3, he essentially did what he had done the last 2 rounds, got Charles Oliveira to the ground, and then in the last few seconds, Oliveira was trying to lock up a Darce. Looked dangerous for a second, but eventually time ran out, and Tsarukyan gets the decision win. It ended up being a split decision. I thought that was a little crazy, but the decision was right nonetheless. Tsarukyan wins. He's going to move up that track to face potentially what it's going to be, I guess, the winner of Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier, from what I think is being teased. Regardless, we'll see what happens there, but Big time win for Tsarukyan. You think he has to get a shot at the belt. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we got to the people's main event. And the people were right. Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway squared off in the BMF title fight. 5 rounds, which you don't see on the undercard at all unless it's for a legitimate belt. Right now, the BMF belt is more legitimate than I've ever seen it because this fight was awesome. Gaethje and Max Holloway, the fight started. Very patient approach from both guys. Gaethje trying to attack those legs continuously. Good game plan from him, but Holloway was sharp. He was precise. He was patient. He was surgical with his striking. And in the first round, he was putting it together with his boxing, wide stance, so his front leg does get eaten up like a warm breakfast, but into the round, Gaethje, who had, for the most part, been very tentative and cautious, starts to kind of come forward, and they're both in the pocket, and he kind of ducks his head under. And when he does, Max Holloway spins and throws a side kick, but because Gaethje lowered his frame, Holloway popped him right in the nose and potentially and probably broke his nose. Massive moment in the fight. Obviously a bummer for Justin, but it's the fight game, man, and timing just happens to work that way. Huge moment for Max as he won that round and obviously created a big reason why he was probably going to win the rest. Round 2, a closer round. I thought Gaethje got a raw deal here because Max poked him in the eyes twice. Again, it wasn't intentional at all, but I felt it like at least after twice in the same round to both different eyes, Max should have had a point taken here. Again, it's not intentional, but man, he poked him in 2 different eyes in the same round. Anyway, I thought Max won this round as well, and he was winning rounds going away. I think the 4th round was probably the only round where Justin Gaethje won a round because he came out a little bit more aggressive. He was just continuing to chew up that lead leg. It looked like Max had developed elephantitis of the left leg, the way there was swelling and just complete bruising all over his lead leg. But again, Max showed none of that in his face. His movements might have slowed down a little bit, but it was just like he felt no pain. It was so odd. We were getting like a version of Max, a Terminator version that I don't think I've ever seen. He was on a different level tonight. And again, round by round, he was just staying so poised and precise with his striking. It felt like it was going to be one of those Max performances where he wins the fight going away because of his volume, because of his boxing ability, because of his just technical striking and his ability to stay clean even in high-pressure moments. I should mention this, by the way. Justin did drop Max in the 4th round. That's the first time in Max Holloway's career he's been dropped. That's a massive deal. Fair play to Justin Gaethje. That was huge. So Justin wins that round, and then the 5th round came, and Max Holloway said, it's cool you got that one. I'm going to go nuclear. He started piecing up Justin Gaethje like he was a puzzle undone. That man was getting right hands, left hook, uppercut, double jab, right hand, body work, upstairs. At one point, he drops Justin Gaethje with a nasty combination. He was doing a great job of mixing up those combinations, and by the time that round ended, we were about 20 seconds or so. These guys have been warriors the entire fight. There's a little bit of a slowdown moment. Both guys realize this fight's coming to an end. And I even said on stream, hey man, if Max Holloway was a different dude right now, he could coast and get this 5th round. Easy work. But that's not the cloth from which he is cut, a la John Anik. Max Holloway, just like he did years ago against Ricardo Lamas, points to the center of the octagon and says, let's finish it right here. And everybody watching, we all went, oh, that's Max, man. He's going to go out swinging, and boy, do they start fucking swinging. The first time Max did it against Ricardo, it was wild. It was insane to see someone offer that and the other person obliged them. In this case, it almost made sense. It's the BMF belt. You're in there with Justin Gaethje. These two love violence, and they both accept the challenge. And here we are swinging in the middle of the octagon. Max is getting the better of him, but Justin's landing some. Max goes to the body. Then upstairs, you're looking at the clock. Time is running down. And just as you're about to hear that horn, Monster Energy drink sign and says, let's throw him. And they just throw him to the... Oh, my God! Max Holloway knocked Justin Gaethje out at the buzzer! Oh, my God! Max Holloway lands a right hand flush on the jaw of Justin Gaethje, and he collapses to the ground. Max Holloway wins by buzzer beater knockout in one of, if not the greatest moments that's ever happened in the UFC. Yes, I know Yair Rodriguez upper elbow to Korean Zombie as the buzzer went. Yes, I know Conor McGregor left hand off the back foot 12 seconds in versus Jose Aldo. Yes, I know Poatan takes down Jamal Hill after telling referee Herb Dean, listen, fella, I got this. Boom, left hook. We'll talk about it in a second. But this was poetic. This was art to a degree. You're talking the two most violent men fighting for the violence belt after a brutal, violent fight. And again, let's give Max Holloway his flowers here. He comes up a weight class to 155 after trying it before and not getting it done for the BMF belt on UFC 300. The biggest card they're promoting in the history of the UFC is what they're saying, even though I disagree. But still, this moment is unmatched. And that's why I think this is gotta be top 3 moments, potentially the greatest moment I have ever seen live in the UFC. What a win for Max Holloway. Gets on the mic, by the way, and calls out Ilia Topuria, and there's a reaction, and I want to see if you can get this clip, Leo. There's a reaction from Ilia cage side. He was there and watched it happen, and again, everybody is cheering. It's him, Israel Adesanya. They're all cheering, woo! And then they see the right hand land, and everybody is in shock, and Ilia Topuria is one where he goes, oh, okay, that's what I'm dealing with. Not that I think he's scared, which I don't think that's the case, but I think the realization that Max does have some power to put people away and you shouldn't engage with the point at the ground and let's throw, that made me just so much more excited for that fight. Do it in Spain, do it wherever for the 145 belt. 2 of the best boxers in the UFC. I love it. I need it. Get that shit done. Then in the co-main event, we had Weili Zhang and Yan Xiaonan. This one was an interesting fight, to be honest with you. I thought that it was going to be a steamroll victory for Weili Zhang, and on the cards, it looked that way, and maybe it was to a degree, but it was like a hard-fought victory against one of the toughest women I've seen in Yan Xiaonan. This was Weili Zhang coming out, doing what she does in the first round, just utter dominance, getting to a dominant grappling position, and again, rear naked choke. She's sinking it in. She's cinching it. It looks like the fight's going to be stopped in the first round. Easy work for Weili, but round timer hits, and Yan Xiaonan gets up, dazed and confused, probably was out, stumbles to her corner. They get her ready to go out in the second round. She has a good second round, a better second round, and toward the end of that second round, where she looks like she may get submitted again, she stays alive and starts to turn the tide a little bit. Comes out in round 3, and all of a sudden, Weili is tired, and she's got heavy arms from trying to finish the fight over and over, and now Yan is dropping bombs, throwing right hands, dropping the champ multiple times. I thought she won the 3rd round. 4th and 5th round, Weili just had too much. On the feet, it looked like Yan Xiaonan was having a lot of success, but Weili with the well-rounded offense, with the ability to grapple at the higher level and change the fight, control the fight in most instances, she gets the decision win, 5 rounds. What a moment for China, and what a moment for women's MMA, because Weili is continuing to build a legacy that's going to push the sport forward for sure. And then once again, we get to our main event. And here again, once I do wear the casual hat, casual concept weight, I thought Jamal Hill was going to win this fight by knockout. Turns out I was absolutely wrong, mate, because this was Poatan's moment. Alex Pereira is a monster. I think he's made in a lab somewhere. I don't understand him. I don't understand the physics around him. Maybe he is gifted from the gods of fighting, because what he does to people doesn't make sense. It's hard to describe because he's so calm. He's so stoic, yet terrifying and straight out of a horror movie, all in one. He walks to the cage with that iconic entrance, and he pulls back the bow and screams bloody murder. Yet to be in the octagon and be so calm, cool, collected as he just stalks forward like a predator to prey is insane. Jamal Hill obviously thought a lot of himself here, and so did I. I thought he had great boxing ability and was going to be able to sit down on punches, as Poatan likes to engage in sometimes a little too long in engagements, but Achilles heel, no pun intended, just happened to be the fact that he just was not on the level of a high-level champion, world-time, multiple champion kickboxer in Alex Pereira. It was not a very long fight, but in moments, both guys traded leg kicks. It almost just looked again like Poatan was just waiting and entertaining and maybe even downloading information to say, okay, I've got you, now let's go, right? I've seen what you do. I've seen where you want to be, seen where your hands go. Now it's my turn. And what I was referring to earlier, there was a moment where Jamal Hill kicked him in the nuts, and it wasn't like a super hard kick, or maybe it was, and Poatan's just made of steel everywhere, including his ball sack. But he looked to referee Herb Dean and said, it's okay. He didn't even look at him, actually. He just put his hand out like, no, don't stop it. I'm okay. Referee steps away, and immediately Poatan leaps in with that left hook that Firas Zahabi, coach of George St. Pierre, used to call Conor McGregor's left hand the touch of death. I think a new man has gained hold of that moniker. That left hook, when it touches people on the chin, they go to sleep. Does lazy eyes fixable is, oh, left hook! Alex Pereira, holy shit! Oh my God, he's hurt him bad. It's over, dude. It's over. Jesus Christ, it's over. Because Poatan didn't even land the left hook flush on the knuckles. I think he landed it with the inside of his hand, or it didn't look like it was a shot that most people would go out from, and Jamal Hill looked like he was being baptized in the holy waters, man. He falls to the canvas. It was a clear flash knockout, not a knockdown, knockout. Referee waves it off. Poatan is your winner. Again, I don't have words to describe what this guy is. He's otherworldly in the way his power works and how he sets it up and just how calm he is with his hands low. It's an experience level of fighting that you don't really see often, but he's quickly becoming one of the greatest martial artists to ever live. Not just MMA, but two-time world champ kickboxing, two-time world champ MMA, and now on the mic in the post-fight, he asks for the thing he's been trying to manifest. The main event of UFC 301 in less than a month. That event is on May 4th. And Pereira wants to move up to heavyweight and face Tom Aspinall in that fight. And listen, normally, I would say maybe that's not a great idea. You just fought. You're at light heavyweight. You're moving up another weight class. That would make him compete for a third championship. No one has ever won 3 simultaneously. But he took no damage. He is massive for the weight class. They said he weighed in at like 230 or something, walked into the octagon at 226, 227, something like that. He can clearly blend in at heavyweight fine, but Tom Aspinall's a big boy, and he's quick, and he's light on his feet, and he's got fantastic grappling. Like, that's the big Achilles heel here. But Pereira is a solid foundation of ground game and grappling, which Tom Aspinall has. So I don't know if he can get it done, but what I will say is I'm not going to doubt his will to do it. And if he wants it, I think he give it to him. Give me Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira in the main event, 301, heavyweight championship on the line. Do it. No interim heavyweight belt, by the way. John is not active right now. The heavyweight belt, put it on the line. I'm there for it. Signed, sealed, delivered. Anyway, that's what I think, man. UFC 300 in the books. One of the greatest, if not the greatest cards of all time. What happens next across the board? I don't have those answers, but what I know is this. Max Holloway submitted his legacy as a legend in this sport tonight. Same with Weili, same with Alex Pereira. And this card is one we will never forget. Does Pereira get the main event at 301? Does Max Holloway get Ilia Topuria in Spain? Do we ever see anything like we saw tonight? I don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.